Welcome to The Ordinary Effect. I'm your host, Guido Prino. Thank you for being here. If you haven't subscribed yet, please consider subscribing. Love to have you here every week. So one question that I often get asked is, where do you get the topics or ideas for The Ordinary Effect? And trust me, they come from all sorts of avenues. Sometimes it's research. Sometimes I think about them while I'm out for a walk. Other times it's through daily interactions and things that kind of pop up that make me ask certain questions. Now, this week's topic is about artificial intelligence. And where it came up is that I'm part of a hockey pool where you compete with players and teams, but it's simulated. And an individual in that pool continuously hammers me when we come up on the topic of artificial intelligence because they want to point out that it's bad for the planet and it's bad for all of us, and there's nothing good about it from my interactions with this person. And I, jokingly one day said, well, there's other things that are worse for us as humanity, like, for example, McDonald's. Now, there's a question that almost sounds ridiculous the first time you hear it. What's worse for the planet, artificial intelligence or McDonald's? And most people instinctively lean one way. Look, AI feels like the threat. It's new, it's powerful, it's constantly in the headlines. It's the thing people warn about, debate, speculate on. It feels like something that could spiral out of control. It's the unknown, right? At some point, somebody got on a ship and sailed the ocean blue, right? Look, McDonald's doesn't feel like this, though. McDonald's, it feels normal. It's just there. It's on the corner, in the drive-thru, in your routine, something you've seen your entire life, the golden arches, something that doesn't trigger alarm bells. But that contrast, that instinct, is exactly why I think the question matters. Because when something feels normal, we stop examining it. AI doesn't feel normal yet. And when something feels unfamiliar, AI, we tend to overestimate its danger. So instead of guessing, instead of projecting into the future, let's strip it all back. What's actually happening right now, right? Not what AI might become, not what fast food might do over time. What is measurably true today? Because once you anchor the question there, the answer starts to come into focus, and it's not the one most people might expect, perhaps. I mean, if you start with human health, the difference is immediate and hard to ignore. McDonald's operates at a scale that's almost difficult to comprehend. Millions of meals are served every day. It's built on a model of speed, consistency, and cost efficiency. And to achieve that, the food itself is engineered to be highly palatable, shelf-stable, and relatively inexpensive to produce, maybe not purchase these days, but that combination comes with some trade-offs. Meals that are high in calories, high in sodium, high in saturated fats, and often low in meaningful nutritional value. And when that becomes a regular part of someone's diet, not occasionally, but consistently, it contributes directly to some of the most widespread health issues in the world today: obesity, heart disease, and type 2 diabetes. Now, these aren't abstract risks. They're leading causes of death. They are measurable. They're documented. They're happening at scale right now. Entire healthcare systems are dealing with the downstream effects of dietary patterns that fast food helped normalize. There's no ambiguity there. There's no debate about whether the impact exists. It's direct cause and effect. Now, let's compare that to AI, our friend, artificial intelligence. AI absolutely affects behavior. It changes how people interact with information, how they work, how they think through problems. It can shorten attention spans, create reliance on automated responses, and flood people with more information than they can realistically process. But those effects, while real, are not showing up in the same way. There is no global health statistic where AI is listed alongside heart disease or diabetes. There is no clear population-wide data showing AI as a direct driver of mortality or physical illness. Its influence is more subtle, more cognitive, more behavioral, and importantly, less defined. So if you're looking strictly at present-day measurable harm to human health, one system is clearly contributing to physical disease at a global scale and the other isn't. And that alone starts to maybe tilt the conversation. But health is only part of it. When you shift to the environment, the gap doesn't close, it widens. Because McDonald's isn't just a restaurant chain. It's a front end of a massive global supply system. And the biggest environmental impact doesn't come from the buildings or the fryers. It comes from what sits at the center of the menu: beef. Producing beef is one of the most resource-intensive processes on the planet. It requires enormous amounts of land, significant water consumption, and results in methane emissions that are far more potent than carbon dioxide in terms of greenhouse effect. To support that demand, forests are cleared for grazing and feed production. Ecosystems are altered. Carbon stored in trees is released back into the atmosphere. And there's the rest of it. The packaging, the logistics, the transportation networks, the refrigeration systems, a constant global flow of materials and energy moving to support a model built on volume. It's not theoretical, it's not emerging, it's already happening every day at industrial scale. AI, by comparison, does have an environmental footprint. Data centers consume energy. Servers generate heat and require cooling. Hardware has to be manufactured and eventually replaced. But in absolute terms, today, that footprint is still significantly smaller than global agriculture, especially livestock production. It's not the primary driver of environmental degradation. It's part of the system, but not the dominant force within it. So again, when you stay grounded in what's measurable right now, the pattern holds. One system is a major, established contributor to environmental strain. The other is present, but not leading. And then there's the societal layer, the way that these systems shape behavior over time. McDonald's has fundamentally influenced how people think about food. It helped normalize the idea that meals should be fast, consistent, immediately accessible. That convenience can outweigh quality. That eating can be compromised into minutes. And that shift didn't just affect individuals, it scaled across cultures. Diets became more standardized. Local food traditions gave way in many places to a global template. It's subtle when you look at it day to day, but over time it reshapes habits, expectations, and norms. AI, on the other hand, doesn't move in a single direction. It disrupts. It introduces new challenges, arguably job displacement, misinformation, over-reliance on automated systems, but it also provides immediate, tangible benefits. It increases efficiency. It expands access to knowledge. It assists in areas like research, education, and problem solving. Its impact isn't purely negative or purely positive, it's mixed, and that matters because when you compare the two, you're not looking at equal types of influence. One is largely one-directional in its downside. The other is a system with both costs and benefits actively playing out at the same time, which leads to the final piece of the equation. The simplest question you can ask: what do we actually get in return? McDonald's gives you speed, convenience, relative affordability. It solves a very real problem, feeding people quickly and, again, relatively cheaply. But it doesn't push humanity forward in any meaningful way beyond that. It doesn't improve health. It doesn't expand knowledge. It doesn't solve complex global challenges. It serves a function. AI, even in its current form, not future, not hypothetical, right now, is actually already doing more than that. It's assisting in medical research, supporting learning, improving workflows across industries, helping people access and process information faster than they otherwise could. Those are tangible contributions. They're not promises, they're not projections, they're present-day value. And when you pull all of that together, health, environment, societal influence, and contribution, the conclusion really stops being complicated. It becomes clear, not because of an opinion, but because of what can actually be measured. Right now, as things stand today, McDonald's is doing more direct measurable harm to both human health and the environment than AI is. Not slightly more, not noticeably more. And maybe the most interesting part of that isn't the answer itself. It's how counterintuitive it feels. Because we've become very good at reacting to what's new, what's unfamiliar, what feels powerful and unpredictable. So, my friend in the hockey pool, AI isn't as bad as you want us all to believe that it is. And at the same time, we've learned to accept, almost without question, what's been around long enough to feel normal. So the systems that shape us the most aren't always the ones that we debate. Sometimes they're the ones we've stopped thinking about altogether. That's The Ordinary Effect. Thank you for joining me. I'm your host, Guido Perino. I hope you enjoyed the show. If you did, please consider subscribing, staying with us so you get notified when we put out new content. Take care and be good and stay safe.